it's Gigi here, welcome to my channel. Today I will create a card for my partner's birthday that will match perfectly with his gift, which will be an accessory for the KitchenAid for rolling out the pasta. I'm very lucky. A few years ago I bought this sweet stamp set that I find suitable for the idea I have for this card. I chose this scene where a kitten and a mouse mix something in a bowl. They are so cute. I will stamp the scene on this smooth white cardstock by Craft Perfect. As a ink, I'm gonna use the Memento Tuxedo Black because I'm going to color my image with the Spectrum Noir Alcohol Markers. I'm using my stamping platform so I can stamp multiple times until I get nice and crisp lines. Once the ink is dry, let's move on to coloring. I will not show you the whole process in detail because it's not my intention to do coloring tutorials, for the simple reason that I'm not an expert at all. There are many tutorials of exceptional people from which I learn a little too, but I'm far from being able to teach something to someone. I'm here only to give you ideas and to improve myself, as well as to show you that you can create even without great artistic skills, and you have so much fun in any case. Then by mistaking we learn. So let's go back to the kitten. I'm coloring in black and white like my cat. I'm using, however, very dark grays. I'm using the dark grey to color the shaded areas, then moving to the middle one and ending with the lightest in those areas that I think most exposed to light. All this taking care to blend the colors together. And the kitten is colorful. To color the apron, I'm using two shades of light blue. And for the little flower, I'm gonna use a light purple. For the book, I'm using an orange for the dark area and a yellow for the light one. While for the mouse I'm gonna use one grays. I'm coloring the bowl with 3 cold grays, not very dark, and I'm going to use the same cold grays for the little cloud. I lighten at the top with the blender. For the chef's hat I'm using a light blue only on the shaded part, and then lighten it with the blender in order to define it, but leaving white because it is white. I'm coloring the wooden table with 2 shades of golden browns, defining the wooden grain with the darkest one. For the mesh that come out of the bowl, I'm using very light browns from the tan brown family, but as you will see later on, I will cover them with another product. For the page of the book I still use 2 browns, as well as for the ladle reusing the 2 browns that I used to color the table. Let's not forget Aria's nose, slightly dark. Finally I'm going to color the ground in grey and the background with a light blue. Now I'm going to cut out the scene with a stitch square die. So I take my big shot and position the die using purple adhesive tape, just to be sure that they stay in place. For this card I'm going to create various layers of paper using this pattern paper from the Craft Perfect Blue Blossom Pad, this denim blue card, and this Oyster grey card, both from Craft Perfect. In this case they are classic card and they have a beautiful texture on one side. As a background panel I'm gonna use a white cardstock that I'm going to die cut with a stitch rectangle die. I have already cut out my card base in a standard size, that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and with my scoreboard I'm going to mark the fold line at 5 1/2 inches. As you can see, the panel is slightly smaller than the card base, therefore I get a nice border all around this panel. So I'm going to cut a rectangle out of the denim blue paper that will completely cover up the front of the card base. In order to not waste my paper, I cut the center of the blue panel with a rectangle die, leaving only the frame that will actually be visible on the card. The rectangle made can be used in other projects. I'm gonna glue the frame directly on the card base with my Nuvo liquid glue, so I have a few seconds to move the paper and position it correctly. I also stick down the white background panel. Now I can work on the other layers. First of all, I have cut out a strip of pattern paper for which I will create very thin edges with the oyster grey paper. I'm going to cut out this strip to be the same horizontal width as the white panel, and I'm gonna glue it with the Nuvo glue. Off screen I have cut 2 squares using a square die from the same set I used to cut out the scene previously, but with a slightly larger one. I die cut them out of the grey and the blue paper. Now I fight to decide how to fix these levels. I am undecided to use both or only one. In this case, whether to use the blue one or the grey one. Well, I go for the blue one. So I'm gonna glue the scene above it, getting a nice border. I'm also going to stick down this panel using the foam pad to give a nice dimension that I like to have on my cards to don't be totally flat. As a sentiment I'm gonna use a stamp from this stamp set of the Tonic Craft kit number 28. I choose the I love you stamp since the card is for my partner, but obviously you can use a generic happy birthday sentiment. I'm using my stamping platform again to get a nice impression, and I'm using the VersaFine Onyx black ink that is, in my opinion, perfect for stamping the sentiment. I'm gonna die cut a bunch of little hearts with this die set from the Tonic Craft kit number 16. Again, I will use art because the card is for my partner. If you don't find the art suitable, you can opt for other shapes or simply add other types of details. I had a brilliant idea. With a cream colored Nuvo crystal drop, I'm gonna make the mash out of the ball 3-dimensional. But I think this color is too light, so I will cover it later on with a vintage drop that is slightly darker than the crystal drop I'm using now. I also add little drops on the cat nose and eyes using the black Nuvo crystal drop, and I'm gonna apply white crystal drop on her muzzle and on her belly to give them a soft texture. In fact, as you can see, I'm just dabbing the nip of the bottle, adding a very little amount of the product. As usual, I can't stop adding details, especially if I have Nuvo drops in my hand. In fact, with a vintage drop, which perfectly matches the colors I use, I create a few drops here and there. As a very last touch, I glue a strip of pattern paper that is left over to finish the inside of the card. Well, this sweet mess in the kitchen card is finished. I hope you enjoyed the video and got inspired. Leave me a sweet like and a lot of comment to chat about the techniques I used. I'd like to remind you that you will find the list of the supplies that I used on the description box, as well as the link to my blog. From the photos you can see that I added the glitter with a Nuvo Aqua Shimmer pen, and then I also made the gift package match with the card. Thanks for watching me, see you all next time, and be colorful!